For this question, it's pretty straightforward. It says that we have 150 people, which is going to be important. And then it says to us that we want to figure out the probability that the person has either type A, and you'll notice on the graph that there are 67 people with type A, or type AB blood, and type AB blood has 6 people. So for this question, you're going to take 67 plus 6 more, which will give you 73 people. And remember that this was 73 out of 150 people. So the correct answer for this is the letter D. For question 2 on week 1, we are trying to find out of the 5 colleges, they have room and board prices at $370, $310, $380, $340, and $310. We are trying to find the mean for these monthly fees. Remember, the word mean also means average. When we are finding the average, we're going to add up all the numbers that we have, which are 370, 310, 380, 340, and another 310. When you add up all of those numbers, you'll end up with 1,710. But to find the mean or the average, we're going to take the sum of all the numbers and divide by the amount of numbers we have, which remember was 5 colleges. So when we take 1,710 divided by 5, we end up with the average or the mean to be 342. The correct answer for this one is the letter H. For question 3, there are several ways that you can do this, but one that a lot of students seem to understand is using a proportion. So we're going to write a ratio. Our first ratio is going to compare on the road map. It says a half of an inch represents 18 miles. So we're going to go 1/2 inch represents 18 miles. We're going to set that equal to the second ratio, which will allow us to find out the answer that we're trying to discover here. It says about how many miles apart are 2 towns that are 2.5 inches apart. So in the numerator of my first ratio, I had the number of inches, so I have to represent the number of inches again, and I'm trying to find the distance of the 2 towns. So I'm going to let that be x, and that will be the distance in miles. So just doing cross products, I'm going to take 1/2 times x, which is going to give me a 1/2 x, and then I'm going to take 18 times 2.5. So just doing cross products. And when I do that, I'm going to end up with a 1/2 x to equal 45, and that's just 18 times 2.5. Then I'm going to need to get rid of the 1/2 times x, and I'm going to do that by dividing. So when I take 45 divided by 1/2, that will give me 90. So the answer to my question was, how many miles apart would the 2.5 inches represent? And that would be 90 miles. Week 1, question number 4. For this question, we're going to do just purely substitution with the information that we know. We know that F is 450, so we're going to substitute that in. So we're going to have 450 to equal, we're trying to figure out what C is, so C will stay that variable. And then we're going to take the 10 and substitute that in for D. So I have to take that 10 and then cube it. Now following order of operations, so PEMDAS, you're going to take 450. We're going to have to take that 10 and cube it, and 10 cubed is going to give me 1,000. So rewriting this in the way that we're used to seeing it, it would be 1,000 C. Now we're trying to solve for C, so I have to undo or do the inverse of times 1,000, or do the opposite, which would be to divide by 1,000. And when I take 450 and divide that by 1,000, I'm going to end up with the answer to be 0.45. So the correct answer is the letter F. For question number 5, we're evaluating the function f of x at 1. That just simply means wherever you have the value of x, you are to replace it with the number 1. So we're going to rewrite this. We'll have f of 1 to equal, simply again means wherever x is, you're going to put 1. So it'd be 3 times 1 plus 7, that whole quantity squared. Now, following order of operations, we would have to take our and multiply first. So 3 times 1 is going to give us 3. Then we have plus 7 squared. Again, still following order of operations, I'm going to do what's inside my parentheses. So I'm going to take 3 plus 7, which is 10. Now I have to square that. And when I figure out what 10 squared is, it just means 10 times 10, or f of 1 would equal 100. The correct answer would be the letter E.